Welcome back, everybody, to the Empowerment event. We are now on session 2. The title of this event, The Power of the Feminine Principle, How to Break Through Self-Imposed Limitations and Create Phenomenal Growth in Your Business. And I'm going to introduce you to someone really special here in just a sec, but I've been told by my team we're getting more people checking in, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to, I hope I'm saying these names correctly, Dilana Howell, who's saying hello from Johannesburg, South Africa. It's lovely to have you here. I can't even imagine what time it is in South Africa. Nina Helene Jorkley, I believe, from Norway. Amazing to have you here. Eric Washkarak from Ontario, Canada. Men, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. We have a lot of great guys in the audience too. And Elizabeth Camwella, who is tuning in from Stockport in the UK. So welcome to all of you. And as we go through the day, we'll try and do a few more shout outs here too. But let me now introduce you to someone I'm very excited is joining us. And just to tee this session up, as we were talking earlier, this whole 6-step plan that we're going through today, one of the most important steps that women can focus on and really experience some incredible breakthroughs is this whole idea of self-leadership. And in my experience, as we mentioned earlier, women are very smart and very capable and often understand all the tools within their company and how to get out and present the products and business very effectively. However, we often do come up against our own barriers and our own self-imposed limitations. And if there's one thing I've seen stop women more than anything, it's self-doubt and just limiting beliefs. So if you can relate to that at all, you're going to love this session, because joining me is a gentleman who's got an incredible level of expertise in that area. And I'm going to brag about you just a moment before I introduce you, if I could.
Go ahead.
We've only known each other, we've only known each other a year, I think, maybe? Just over a year.
And a half, something like
and
that.
Yet you've been around this profession for a long time. You're one of those well-kept secrets that, people don't know much about you till they get to know you. But Carlos has got unbelievable experience in network marketing, over 30 years in this profession. He built a team of over 500,000 people in his downline, which created over $800 million in annual revenue. That's like the gross national product of a small country. That's unbelievable. You've got more titles and rewards than I can name, but you've been obviously a #1 income earner in your company, an executive Diamond Club qualifier. You've won the Global Leadership Award. And in addition to all your business experience, I know you're a great student of success principles. You're also a very renowned teacher of success principles. You've got a new book that's just coming out called The Ultimate Success Formula.
Correct.
That we're going to talk a little bit about. And your events and your training is so beloved. I know over 1 million people have attended your live events, and your audio and video programs have sold over 10 million copies. So everyone, please help me give a warm welcome to Carlos Marin. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you coming in. And we're going to talk a lot about the mind and how beliefs are formed and all this, these ideas of self-imposed limitations. And this isn't theory for you. I know you've got a lot of personal experience in this area. It's not just something that you've learned and you teach, but you really lived and have had some profound breakthroughs in this area. So would you tell a little bit about your story and,
Sure.
and how that all fits in?
Sure. And first of all, it's kind of ironic that a man is coming in to talk about the feminine principle, right?
Yeah.
So, but I will tie the pieces together and you will see where all that comes from. But, my story began the day I was born, like everybody's, right? But the day I was born was the day after Fidel Castro went up into the Sierra Madre Mountains in Cuba to begin the communist revolution. My mother actually was taken to the hospital a day early because they were afraid. We lived in a place called Camagüey, and that was right near where the rebels were hiding out in the mountains and all that. So we went to the hospital early. And the first 3 years of my life was the Cuban Revolution, the rebels coming down from the mountains, all kinds of skirmishes and fights and so forth. So in the area where we lived, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of apprehension about, obviously, fear for their lives, fear for what was going on, what was going to happen in the country, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, 3 years later, Castro takes over the country, and, we're all very, very concerned. There was one of my neighbors that had a very nice home in the neighborhood, and the militia came in to take his house. He didn't want to give it to him, so they just shot him dead right in front of his family.
Wow.
Obviously, my family got really, really fearful at that point in time, and, we decided to leave Cuba. So my dad, they wouldn't let you leave with anything. They took all your lands, all your everything. My dad put a $1,000 bill, they were still making those at the time, in the sole of his shoe. His friend, the shoe repair guy, put it in his shoe, and we left for Spain, me and my two sisters, my parents, one suitcase, and the $1,000 bill in my father's sole of his shoe.
Wow.
That's where, you know, we began. We stayed there for a year and a half. Everybody thought the Castro deal was going to be short-lived, but it wasn't, as we can all tell by now. And so we went to the United States, and of all places, Charleston, West Virginia was where we went. So, you know,
makes perfect sense, right?
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Lots of Cubans in Charleston, West Virginia, right? So, so needless to say, I got beat up a lot because, you know, I didn't speak English, and then when I spoke English with a Cuban accent. So I had to learn to defend myself. So I did the smartest thing I could do. I got myself a girlfriend who was 1 grade older than me, and she was about 2 feet taller than me. So when I got picked on, Kimberly came around and she protected me. So anyways, I have a lot of experience with women because I'm the oldest of 4 children and the other 3 are girls. Raised in a very Catholic household. I mean, my mother is the most incredible woman in the world. I mean, well, there's the Virgin Mary, and then there's my mom. You know, I mean, so it's there's that kind of reverence. She's a little lady, but just, you know, just phenomenal.
Wow.
And you know, the relevance of that story is not, you know, for people to feel sorry for me or anything like that, but it's the belief system that gets created when one begins their life in a period of so much fear, right? And so we got to this country, and of course, my mom and dad both worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, so we were taking care of my sisters and I with, and one more was born in Spain, so we left with 2, got 1 more in Spain, and now we were 4, 3 girls and me. And you know, the babysitter was the one who took care of us till 9 o'clock at night because my parents had 2 jobs. And so when we wanted things, one of the things my dad would always say, well, son, you know, we lost everything in Cuba and money doesn't grow on trees and, you know, la, 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 right? And so I learned this whole belief system. And then, by the way, too, they went on and said, well, you know, money's not everything, right? Love is more important than money, and I won't argue that fact, but when you make a statement like that, you're presupposing one is good and one is bad, and you can only have one or the other, right? Yeah. So the whole money's not the most important thing in the world, and love is more important than money, and just look at what happened to your grandfather and us. Somebody can come along, take away your money, and you lose everything, right? And so that was part of the belief system that I grew up with. Well, there's 2 parts or 2 elements to that, and that one of them is that, you know, fear of lack, right? But the other one's fear of loss. And so the fear of lack was something that I used to motivate myself throughout life. Because as I was growing up and we didn't have, you know, I got tired of hearing, you know, you can't have this, you can't have that because money doesn't grow on trees, you know. My friends would get these cool guns that would have, you know, the thing that would shoot the bomb and the screaming Mimi, and it would break down into a pistol and, you know, all this stuff. And I'd ask my dad for one of those for Christmas, and I'd get a bag full of those little plastic, you know, little soldier people, you know, that were frozen in place. And so I learned to work for what I wanted. And so when my friends had the cool 10-speed bikes, you know, riding around like riding a stallion, here I come along in the banana seat, you know, with the high handlebars and, you know, all that. And so I said, Dad, you know, you got to give me a break here. You got to help me out. And he said, you know what? The lawnmower we have there in the garage, you know, you cut my lawn once a week, and then I'll lend you the lawnmower so that you can go cut the neighbor's lawns and get your 10-speed bike. Wow. And so, you know, I resented him at the time, but I learned to be very self-sufficient. So by the time high school came around and I wanted my car, I didn't even, I wasn't going to go ask him for it. I already knew this drill, right? So I was already saving up, working, and so forth. I even, you know, would wash cars in the neighborhood. I upsold. That was the beginning of the upsell, right? From lawns to upselling and washing cars and so forth and so on. So I became very self-sufficient, which really served me later in life. Wow. But what I didn't understand, and this became the subject of my later studies, was that I had a fear of loss that would shine its ugly head later on in life. Okay, so fast forward to, and I guess we could show. Yeah,
we've got a picture of his family. What a great shot.
That's where.
This was in Cuba.
That was Cuba right before we left. my two little sisters, myself, my mom, and my dad.
Look how cute you were, Carlos.
I know what happened, right?
No, that's great.
But so fast forward to 1982. I'm 25 years old. I'm frustrated. I'm depressed. I have my own property and casualty insurance agency along with a partner. I've figured out the drill of working hard, struggling and sacrificing, which is what I was told you had to do to get ahead in life. So here I am, working probably 70 to 80 hours a week by that point, you know. I'd gotten tired of having more month than money, working 40 hours a week, you know, not enough money, work 50, make more money, spend more money, 60, make more money, you know, you all know that drill. So finally I said, you know, what do I do? I mean, you know, I don't have answers. I don't have answers. And about this time, I mean, I wanted success so bad, somebody came along and showed me a network marketing opportunity. And at first I was like, man, that's too, you know, that's crazy. Can you really make that much money? And I went to the guy and I said, you know, can you make more than $100,000? Because they showed 100,000. I said, can you make 250,000? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, in fact, I can introduce you to a guy making over $1 million. And I'm like, for real? And so this guy comes into town, he and his wife, really sharp couple from Charlotte, North Carolina, you know? And just, I mean, they oozed money. I mean, you could, I mean, you know, the jewelry, the car, I mean, everything. They just, and I don't know what he saw in me, but he said, you know, Hoss, because they talk like that, Hoss, you're a sharp guy. If you listen to me, I'll show you how to become a millionaire too. And I'm like, really? And I thought about that. You know, I did not have a line of people waiting outside my door, you know, to teach me how to become a millionaire. So this was like the only offer in town. I didn't care what the business was. I decided I was going to do it, right? And so it wasn't like right away I became, you know, successful. I mean, I was one of those people that, you know, had to try it several times to make sure it was wrong, right? And so I had a bloody forehead and, you know, all that good stuff. But eventually the lights came on. Now, the interesting thing is that these people were big on personal development. So they immediately started turning me on to books. The Magic of Thinking Big was the first one that I remember reading. And there I was introduced to this disease called excusitis that I had a really big dose of. And turns out that excusitis is really fear of failure. And so I learned how to deal with that, and I learned how to overcome some fears. They gave me the Think and Grow Rich, and that one really started expanding my mind. I was, you know, the first time I read, you know, thoughts or things and powerful things, I'm like, how can a thought be a thing when you can't even see a thought? I mean, how could it be a thing? Of course, back then I did not understand that the entire universe was energy. Right? Intelligent energy, and that intelligent energy can't be created, can't be destroyed, is simultaneously present at all points in space at every moment in time, and all of those quantum physics principles that I had no earthly idea existed. But I took what I could understand, right? In particular, the plan of action and goal setting elements of Think and Grow Rich, and I started applying them. And
how old were you at this point?
25, 26.
Okay, so still really young.
Yeah, real young. I think probably 20, I got in the business at 25, and I was probably 26 when I got Think and Grow Rich.
Wow, that's a life changer.
It's a life changer. I tell you, I've read that book at least 12 to 15 times in my life, and every time I read it, you know, it's a new book. It's just something else. And so, you know, this is where I started understanding and realizing a little bit. I mean, mind you, when they talked about the subconscious mind in Think and Grow Rich, it went like, shoo, like right over my head. I mean, in the beginning, I did not get that at all. It seemed like magic. It seemed like hocus pocus. It went against my Catholic upbringing. You know, all that good stuff, right? So, you know, so it was an interesting time. But about 3.5 years into the business, I went to a seminar, and this young, really successful, dynamic guy spoke, and, you know, he said, the reason that you all are not on the stage and I am is that you all are sitting here negotiating the price of success, thinking you got too many different options. And to have the lifestyle I have, another guy, Southern guy, you ain't got no other options. And I started thinking about that and realizing, he said, you know, I didn't think I was as sharp as the other people on that stage, but I knew I could outwork everybody. So that's what I set my mind to do. I just figured out the work level that everybody else did, and I just said, I'm going to do double what everybody else did. And so 2.5 years later, I'm a diamond, I'm a millionaire, whatever you want to call it.
Wow.
And I looked at that and I'm like, man, this guy's talking to me. I'm, you know, slapping myself and going, you know what? I'm making that decision right here, right now. So it turns out it was about commitment. You know, commitment is what creates intention, as I talk about in the book as well. So 28 months later, I was a diamond, I was a millionaire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was a big wake-up call for me. And I realized how much of the principles I already knew. 3.5 years I'd been learning and applying selectively, right? Selectively, because sometimes people think, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? You know, there's a process that you go through, and a lot of times, you know, you're just missing one or two little pieces that once that clicks, boom, you know. I mean, it could literally happen overnight. So I had a lot of personal growing to do, and that was, you know, the key. And so it really boils down to the beliefs that you have in your subconscious mind. I mean, when I was 4 years old, my grandfather gave me a white stallion for my birthday. Beautiful horse. I loved horses. And so I would draw horses, and, you know, my grandfather celebrated that fact. He loved the fact that I could draw horses because he had a ranch. So he gave me this prize white stallion for my birthday, and they dressed me up like a little cowboy and put the whole outfit, the hat, the spurs, the boots, everything. And my father handed me up to my grandfather, who was on the horse, and of course, 4-year-old kid, immediately I just click those spurs in the horse and it starts bucking and I go flying through the air. And my dad, thank God, was younger back then, and he caught me before I hit the ground, and they took away my spurs and punished me, and, you know, I was very mad.
Wow.
And so anyways, I've been telling that story for 50 years, and a couple years ago we were in Miami talking to my mom and dad, and I said, you know, that story still fascinates me. Fill me in on more of the details. And they go, which one? And I tell them, and my mom's looking at me like I'm on drugs, and she's like, what? That never happened. That never happened. The only horse that you ever had was one of those with the springs on it that you jump up and down.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
50 years I've had this belief, right? That I had, and they go, where did you get this from? And I'm like, my grandmother told me that. I mean, I think, you know, but she's been dead for 15 years, so, you know, how are we supposed to verify it?
Wow.
So 50 years. Now, here's the caveat to that is, how often do we go throughout our lives believing something is true, right, when it's really not? See, a belief is nothing more than a sense of certainty about the validity or truthfulness of something. But it's not necessarily true. It's either a thought we've had many, many, many times, something we've heard many, 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 many times. Okay? And so what I like to tell people is that, you know, we are unlimited potential. Every single one of us came into this world as unlimited potential, like the most incredible supercomputer that you've ever seen. I mean, the incredible hard drive, an operating system that is self-learning, self-evolving, self-regulating. I mean, can do anything. Only problem is no programs, right? No software. So then the people whose care we're entrusted to, they sit down and they, now mind you, in their effort to want to help us, to protect us, to serve us, they start programming. But what can they give? What can they give? They can only give what they have, right? And I tell this to people because people have this tendency to say, well, my family, my parents did this, da, 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 da. Listen, no judgment. I believe that everybody does the very best they can at any moment in time according to their level of awareness, period. Okay? At every moment in time. You can't give what you don't have, and you don't know what you don't know. Right? So what did they do? They gave us the best they could. If they had fears, they passed them along to us. Oh, be careful. Don't do that. Don't go near the edge. You'll fall off. You'll do this. You know, whatever fears they had, they taught them to us. The limitations they had, they taught them to us. To hurt us? No. To protect us. Because that's the reality that they were living. Right?
Definitely. And it's very obvious listening to you how much that experience coming out of Cuba influenced you. And you were so young, and yet obviously those dynamics were going on in your family unit. They were having a certain kind of experience, and as a child that young, you can't help but just absorb and take in all of that stuff. And it sounds like it's really served you in a lot of ways. It certainly contributed to your drive and your ambition, and I'm sure it's probably got in the way as well at different
Absolutely,
places.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of principles, and I'll show you real quick how beliefs get.
Yeah, let's look at how these beliefs get formed.
This is how beliefs get formed. Okay, network marketing has been an incredible laboratory to me to learn about human beings, and so, having had this organization in which millions of people literally over the past 30 years have gone through, and I've tested all these principles on all of these people who were willing subjects, mind you. You know, I've studied this, and part of the question I'm the guy who always asks why. So if I teach something to a room full of people, and 1 or 2 go out and become millionaires, and, you know, 5 or 10 do okay, and the rest don't do anything, why? It's the same information. It's the same stuff. How come some do it and some don't? And that was what always frustrated me. So I started studying more and more and more, and my study led me into the study of the mind. And I realized that the random stimuli and experiences and the conditioning from our parents, family, teachers, coaches, obviously today TV, internet, you know, I mean, unbridled information just bombarding people from every direction. That information is what creates our mindset, okay? And we throw this word mindset around real easily these days, but if you look at the word, the mindset is the set of your mind, right? There's a principle that's called the principle of correspondence that says, as within, so without. And that means that as you believe, as you assume, as you think unconsciously, you produce externally, okay? And so that mindset is nothing more than a series of beliefs about who you are, which I call identity, philosophy of life, which is beliefs about money, about people, about what it takes to succeed, et cetera, et cetera. So those beliefs then go off and throw off what we call perceptual filters. Those perceptual filters is kind of like the Star Wars movie where the mothership throws that protector force field around it to keep the enemy out but let the friendlies in. Well, those perceptual filters allow information in that agrees with what you already believe, and rejects information that goes against what you already believe. Now, if you want to change your mindset, if you want to change the results you're getting in your life, you obviously need to change your beliefs. But the very information you need, you're rejecting because of those perceptual filters. Now, they have a use. It's because we're being bombarded by millions of stimuli at any moment in time, and if we paid attention to all of them, we'd go crazy. So the reticular activating system of the mind sets up those filters. But they get in our way, okay? Very, very often. So based on your mindset, your needs and desires are determined. Your needs and desires will determine what decisions you'll make. Your decisions determine what actions you'll make. Your actions repeated over time turn into habits and abilities. Habits and abilities automatically produce your results. Your results will always, 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 always be in keeping, totally congruent with your mindset, with your beliefs. Doesn't work any other way. People want different results in their life. What do? They go by willpower and try to change their actions. Does that work? No, of course not. Because what you need to do is you need to change your mindset. You need to change your beliefs. Then the actions will follow naturally and easily. And so, you know, the Think and Grow Rich book and so many other books. There's a book out there today called The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, PhD. And his studies are actually showing, the new science of epigenetics is actually showing that your beliefs will change your DNA. People think your DNA is passed down through heredity, and it is because of the belief system that your heredity and ancestors had. But the very DNA can be changed by a change in beliefs.
Fascinating. That's amazing.
It is.
Wow.
It is.
And you talked about the power of the feminine principle. Can we get into that as well? Because it sounds like that's taking belief to a whole different level. There's almost a masculine and feminine aspect to this.
Absolutely. You see, the mind has a couple of different phases. Actually 3, but let's just talk about 2 right now, because the other one gets really out there. So there's 2 phases of mind: the conscious and the subconscious. Actually, it's the objective and the subjective, but it's easier to understand with the conscious and the subconscious. So everything in the universe has gender. There's another principle called the principle of gender. It says everything in the universe has gender. The human mind has both. So the conscious mind is the masculine energies, and the subconscious mind is the feminine energies, right? And so that's why you all are so much more powerful than we are, okay? So
oh, I like that. Say that
you like
again.
that, right? So, you know,
but there's truth to that, I think.
There is, because if you look at the mind like an iceberg, right?
Yeah.
The top part, the part that's outside the surface of the water, the conscious mind, is you know, it can process 40 bits or pieces of information per second, which is pretty good, because you and I aren't aware of the 40 bits we're processing per second.
Right.
But the subconscious mind, man, it can process 20 million bits, 20 million pieces of information per second. And that's very powerful. And the reason for that is because the subconscious mind is also the builder of the body. That's what's keeping all your bodily processes going all along. Right now, we're all breathing. Which one of you is out there saying, lungs, breathe, lungs, breathe? You know, our hearts are beating. Nobody's sitting there going, heart, beat, blood circulating. None of us are controlling that. The subconscious mind is controlling all of that.
And I love this diagram, because would that be an accurate ratio? I mean, if you look at the iceberg above, that might represent the conscious mind compared to what's below and the power of the subconscious. I mean, it may not be completely.
You know, the psychologists say that the conscious is between 5 to 10% and the subconscious 95 to you know, to 90%. But if you compare 20 bits of information per 40 bits per second that the conscious processes and 20 million bits that the subconscious processes, the subconscious is way more powerful. And the reason is that the conscious mind is the purpose of the conscious mind is to look at data, okay, and make decisions. The subconscious mind is what carries it out. You know, that's why, you know, when human beings reproduce, right, the man donates the sperm, the woman does all the rest of the work. Right? And so in nature, it's the same way. And so in network marketing, I've had huge organizations of women. I learned early on that when you talk to a couple, if you're talking to a married couple, talk logic to the guy, but talk through the woman emotionally. Okay? And so that eventually got me a very high sponsoring ratio. Then I started building businesses in Latin America where there was a lot of single women. And, you know, what I learned to do is kind of be the masculine energy for them, right? So that they could do their work, but kind of help the logical part in making decisions, because they'd be all emotional all over the place. Right. And so I remember one time one of them came to me and said, oh, I got this new person in from Argentina. And we were having an event in Mexico, like 25,000 people in a basketball stadium. And she's like, they're brand new. Can they sit in the front in the VIP? And I'm like, no. If I do that for them, I got to do it for everybody else. Plus, do you remember the first time that you sat all the way in the back in the nosebleed section? You remember what the stage looked like from back there? And she was like, oh my God, it was incredible. I'm like, how can you deprive, right, your new person of that experience? And so, you know, it's the balance is kind of the yin and yang. We all have them both within us, and we just need to learn. The powerhouse is the subconscious. The key is learning how to communicate with the subconscious. Right? And you don't communicate with the subconscious. I mean, ladies, if a man says to you, "You got to do this and you got to do that," you know what do you think about that? It's like, up yours, buddy, right? I mean, so. That doesn't. So the subconscious is the same way. You can't communicate to the subconscious like that. You got to romance it. You've got to give it love. You got to get it in a good mood. And that's what meditation and self-hypnosis and a lot of these strategies do. And
can you clarify just a little bit how the subconscious then plays out in someone's business? Because it sounds to me like we can have a certain level of consciousness about what we're doing every day in our business, what our beliefs might be, but I'm assuming there's a lot that goes on in the subconscious that many people aren't aware of that has a complete correlation to the results that people are getting. So how does that connect?
I mean, fear of rejection. I heard the ladies in the panel talking about fear of rejection earlier. That's one that everybody deals with at some point in time. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of public speaking. I mean, there are so many different things. And so if you look at it like this, a belief is nothing more than an idea or thought, like the top of a table, and it has legs supporting it, holding it up. Without the legs supporting it, holding it up, it's not a belief, it's just an idea or thought. It's what our parents told us, what the clergy told us, what everybody told us. We've seen it in movies, we saw it here, we have a sense of certainty about the validity of the idea. So it's a belief, right? Now, how many beliefs do we have that aren't serving us? If you believe money's the root of all evil, is that going to serve you in making money? If you think it's hard to become successful, is that going to serve you? If you think people don't like you, is that going to serve you?
Recruiting's too hard.
Recruiting is too hard. Is that going to serve you? I mean, no, right? And so what you've got to do is you've got to, well, let's take an example. Let's take this, you have to work really hard, struggle, and sacrifice everything in order to succeed in life. Anybody heard anything like that before?
Yes.
Besides me, right? Now, question, how many have worked hard before? And you're making millions of dollars a year already right now, right? How many have struggled before? How many have sacrificed before? Well, if that was true, we'd all be making millions of dollars a year now, wouldn't we? And be on vacation all the time as well, right? And so that's not necessarily true. So what do we have to do? Well, who told us that? Our parents. See, I had that belief.
Right, that would be for sure.
For sure.
Right.
So I had to look at that and go, do my parents have what I want? No. Do my parents' friends have what I want? No. Do my relatives have what I want? No. Does the priest who's saying this garbage have what I want? You know, I mean, so you go down the line, does the coach who's coaching for $35,000 a year at school have what I want? You know, does the teacher have what I want? Do they have the lifestyle I want? Do they have the end results? So if somebody doesn't have the end results that you want, why are you listening to them? I mean, does that make sense? And the reason is because it's in your subconscious, because it was conditioned in you when you were little. Between the ages of 0 and 6, your belief system is formed. That's when your subconscious and your mindset is set. And children from 0 to 6 live mainly in alpha and theta brainwave states, which are meditative states conducive to fast learning. So what you and I need to absorb everything.
Right.
So what you and I need to do is learn how to get ourselves into those kind of states of mind and suggest new information. Okay? And also how to get rid of some of these false beliefs and notions. So you eliminate those supporting references. You turn that belief back into an idea. Now, the universe abhors a vacuum. You can't just leave it like that, because now you got a hole there, right? And if you had a negative belief, the most natural thing to fill in that hole, that vacuum, is another negative belief. So you've got to determine now, what are we going to change this belief to? And so what would you change a belief like that to? You know, and I tell people to think about the positive opposite of all negative things, right? And also to look for positive references. You go watch a TED Talk by Steve Jobs, where they ask him, what's the key to success? And he says, you got to love what you do it with passion and excellence. I mean, look at the stories of all the successful people. Look at Oprah, passionate about what she does, crazy in love with what she does. Donna Karen, you know, J.K. Rowling. I mean, Bill Gates. Look at all the successful, really successful people. Richard Branson, even Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, he's passionate about what he does. I don't agree with his dog eat dog, you know, philosophy, but he's passionate about what he does.
Right.
So if you look at the truly successful people, you'll see their belief is to succeed in life, do what you love with passion and excellence. So now you change your belief, condition it with new references, and say, all the people that taught me that belief don't have what I want. All these people who do have what I want believe this. So guess what? I can, by choice, by my own personal choice, now choose to believe this. Okay?
So obviously we've all picked up through our conditioning, the families that we grew up in, the experiences we've had, and particularly at that young of an age, right? We've picked up limiting beliefs that are affecting what we're doing right now. And in someone's business, if they're afraid to go out and talk to prospects, or they're not having any success with recruiting, or they're having a tough time picking up the phone, that's all as a result of stuff that they've picked up along the way, correct?
Correct.
So how do people change that? Because I think many people are tuned in to some degree as far as there's something in me that's stopping me.
Exactly.
But I know that you can show
Exactly.
that that's very changeable. I mean, we can certainly change the idea, but there's a way to actually condition
Absolutely,
it. Right?
absolutely. You know, in the Ultimate Success Formula, my book is about the studies I've done for the past 30 years working with people, not theoretical, working with people to change stuff in real time that results in either success or failure, right? And so the formula that I've put together is an 8-step pattern that can be used for anything. Success in business, success in finances, for success in relationships, to get your ideal body, to have emotional well-being. I mean, anything you want to attain goes by these steps. Number one, you've got to own your life and the results that you're getting. You've got to take 100% responsibility for whatever it is you're producing. Number two, you have to define really, really clearly what you want. Okay? People fail at this all the time. That's why they have no energy, no juice in their life, no passion, because they're not really clear. Oh, I want to make more money. Oh, I want to have a gorgeous, husband or wife. Oh, I want to lose 50 pounds. That's not good enough. Total clarity about what your point B is, what your ideal life. That's what's required. Okay? Then you've got to commit to it. You've got to fully intend that you're going to have that. And there's processes for all of these. Then number 4, this is what I didn't understand early on, which is this: I lost $20 million because of not knowing this.
Wow.
Okay?
What's number 4? We need to know
number 4 is discover your blocks. What are your limiting beliefs? What are, for me it was an emotional trauma from when I was 1, 2, 3, 4 years old that I couldn't even put into words. I didn't know what it was.
So how did that show up? How did that end up?
It showed up, and I had made a ton of money. I retired, and when I retired, I had a lot of free time on my hands. So when I was moving fast, I could make up for any mistake by how fast I was moving. And momentum creates its own power and its own juice and its own flow.
Right.
So when I retired at 41, slowed down and so forth and so on, all of a sudden I had these business relationships and partners that embezzled money and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wow.
And and at that time, instead of trying to create new, I was trying to hold on to what I had. So the buried fear of loss that I had no earthly idea that I had created all of that.
Wow.
Threw me for a loop and going, how could I help so many people accomplish so much, and how could this still happen to me? And, it's like the book, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? Because you got crap buried down deep in your subconscious mind.
Right.
And you got to dig it up.
Right.
So I started studying release techniques. And, so number 1, you got to discover what is that limiting belief or those limiting beliefs, or what's the emotional trauma or psychic wound, or, what is that thing that's holding you back, right? That's causing fear of rejection or fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of lack, whatever. Find that and then release it. You've got to get rid of it. You've got to transmute it. If it's a belief, you've got to change that limiting belief, what I call transmute, that limiting belief into an empowering belief, like that process we did and multiple others that I teach people, in my events and things like that. And if it's an emotional trauma and things like that, there are various different release techniques that you can learn that can really help you release them. One of them that, again, the women in my life, my wife, like 7-8 years ago, finds this thing called EFT. And, some of you may have heard of it, meridian tapping, EFT, energy psychology, goes by various names. And she said, baby, look at this. This is amazing. Look at this. It cures this. It cures headaches. It does this. It does that. And I'm like, seriously? You expect me to be at an event tapping on my face and on my head and doing all this stuff in public? You got to be out of your mind. Well, she starts getting rid of migraine headaches
using this. Wow.
Using this.
Wow.
And I had a little sciatica pain back then, and she says, why don't we try this on your sciatica, Mr. Smarty Pants? Let's see if that works. So I'm like, okay. So we try this. I mean, in less than 10 minutes, my sciatica pain's gone.
Wow.
And so I start playing around with this, and I combine it. I've studied NLP and self-hypnosis and things like that. And I just started combining the tapping with NLP and started using it to get rid of fear of rejection, fear of failure, Fear of public speaking.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
Exactly.
So that's something you can teach. Can we go through that? We have about 5-7 minutes.
Sure.
Do we have time to go through something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm sure those of you watching at home and those here.
This is a fun little.
Does anyone here have a limiting belief, perhaps, that you may want to change?
Well, let's just
can we do one that's like real time, maybe?
And real time and real demonstrable.
Okay.
Okay. So, anybody here have a fear of public speaking?
There we go. Yeah.
Do you
want to overcome it?
You want to overcome it? Sure.
Okay, great. Give her a hand.
Come on up.
Come on up. Okay.
What's your name?
Mimi.
Mimi. Okay, Mimi. Now let's have you. Can we do a little musical chairs here, Sonia?
Sure.
Let's have Mimi sit right here because I don't want you to look at them. So let me ask you a quick question. On a scale of 0 to 10, if I was to ask you to speak to these people right now, what would that fear rating be?
Probably, it's a comfortable group, maybe a 4.
Oh, you don't have a fear of public speaking. I need somebody who's an 8 or above. Oh. Anybody who would feel 8 or above. And you can just sit beside her because anybody who's really, come on up. Come on up. This is very, very cool. Okay. So you can both do this, but so what I want you guys to do is follow this process along, okay? Tap also, and even if you don't have a fear of public speaking, because somebody may have a headache right now, and by the time we're done, your headache will be gone. And somebody may have a different kind of fear or a different kind of issue going on, and by the time we're done, it will be gone. Because everything in the universe is energy, and your body is energy, and this is energy psychology, okay? And so what happens when you have a fear is something got locked in your mind-body system, a fear got locked in your mind-body system, and now it's keeping you, it's freezing you from taking action or doing what you would like to do. And remember, if the conscious mind and the subconscious are in conflict, the subconscious wins. Not 90% of the time, not 95% of the time, 100% of the time. Because it's trying to protect you. That's all it's trying to do. It's trying survival, self-preservation is the #1 duty, okay, of the subconscious mind. And so somewhere along the line it's trying to protect you. Now, fear of public speaking is simply some form of fear of rejection. By the way, I had it because when I came from Cuba and I was in the 2nd grade in Charleston, West Virginia, I had to get up and do an oral book report with my Cuban accent, trying to speak English. The kids laughed at me. And then I had this fear of public speaking. So when I got into network marketing, right, guess what? I got to stand up in front of a group and do a presentation. I couldn't do it. I mean, I would literally be like drawing on the board with my back to the audience. Today we're going to talk about how to become financially free. Sounded like an 8-year-old girl in distress, And so it was insane. But you can overcome it. You can overcome it. And this is one of the simplest ways of all. So here's what we're going to do. The conscious and subconscious are not in agreement if you have a fear that's keeping you from doing something. So we got to deal with what's called psychological reversal, which means the subconscious and the conscious are not in agreement. Okay, so what we're going to do for that is we're going to tap right here on the karate chop portion of our hand where a lot of meridians. This stuff is based on energy psychology, Chinese medicine that's 5,000 years old. Okay, highly effective. So you're just going to tap right here, and then you guys can watch either Sonia or what was your name?
Jill.
Jill. Okay, and just follow along. And what we're going to do, Jill, is say, even though out loud, even though I have this fear of public speaking.
Even though I have this fear of public speaking. Right now.
Right now. From 0 to 10, what was it?
I was like an 8 or 9.
Like an 8 or 9. Okay. Yeah. So even though I have this fear of public speaking.
Even though I have this fear of public speaking.
I deeply and completely forgive myself.
I what?
I deeply and completely. Forgive myself.
Forgive myself.
Does that sound natural to you? Can you do that?
Possibly.
Or, okay, then try this. I deeply and completely choose to forgive myself.
I deeply and completely choose to forgive myself.
Is that easier?
Yeah.
Okay. And accept myself.
And accept myself.
And love myself anyway.
And love myself anyway.
So even though I've got this fear of public speaking,
So even though I have this fear of public speaking,
and it's been keeping me from the success that I really want in this industry,
keeping me from the success I want in this industry,
I choose to forgive myself,
I choose to forgive myself,
accept myself,
and
love myself anyway.
love myself anyway.
So what else has it been keeping you from doing this fear of public speaking? Even though I have this fear of public speaking,
Even though I have this fear of public speaking,
which has been
stopping me from doing many things in my life.
things that you want to do, right?
Things that I would like to say or do
That would increase your success.
that would increase my success.
You have kids?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Would
Two.
it give you more time with them
Yes,
because of the success?
for sure.
Okay. Can you choose to forgive yourself
I can choose to forgive myself
and accept myself
accept myself
and love myself unconditionally?
love myself unconditionally.
Anyways.
Anyways,
Okay, so now what we're going to do is just tap right here above the eyebrow, point it right here in the corner,
You here?
right there, right? And just say, we're just going to do a reminder phrase, which is fear of public speaking. This is not going to ingrain it. All it's going to do is call up the file that says this is what we're dealing with, fear of public speaking. So, fear of public speaking,
fear of public speaking,
side of the eye,
side of the eye,
fear of public speaking,
fear of public speaking,
under the eye, fear of public speaking,
fear of public speaking,
underneath the nose, fear of public speaking,
fear of public speaking,
underneath fear of public speaking.
fear of public speaking,
Now the collarbone, either both sides or one side of the collarbone, and just fear of public speaking.
fear of public speaking,
Now underneath the arm, guys, the lat, or ladies where your bra strap would be, fear of public speaking.
fear of public speaking,
And now the top of the head, the crown, fear of public speaking.
This takes
fear of
coordination.
public
Huh?
speaking.
Takes
Takes
coordination,
coordination.
right?
My God.
Okay. So I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
I choose to let go of this fear of public speaking.
And then let's just do one more just to make sure it's totally gone. I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
I let go of this fear of public speaking right now.
Because I realize that fear of public speaking
Because I realize this fear of public speaking
is nothing more than fear of rejection.
is nothing more than fear of rejection.
And I can't fear rejection enough
And I can't fear rejection enough
to keep people from not rejecting me.
to keep people from not rejecting me.
Because in reality,
Because in reality,
what I fear I attract.
because what I fear I attract.
And since what I fear I attract,
And since what I fear I attract,
and I don't want to attract rejection,
and I don't want to attract rejection,
I let go of this fear of rejection
I let go of this fear of rejection
and this fear of public speaking
and this fear of public speaking
right now.
right now.
Because I'm a child of God,
Because I am a child of God,
and I deserve success now.
and I deserve success now.
And my children deserve
And my children deserve
a successful mom who can be with them
and a successful mom who can be with them
100% of the time.
100% of the time.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Let's take a deep breath. Let it go. So, Jill, how do you feel?
I feel a lot calmer.
A lot calmer.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
on a scale of 0 to 10,
Well, my heart has slowed down, which is nice. So I definitely think I've gone down at least a notch or two.
at least a notch or two. Well, can you say something to the group?
Yeah, sure. It's awesome to be here. I think today is really important for everyone and can give everyone, you can walk away with something for everybody. Thanks.
Brilliant. You're welcome. Your voice changed. It did, yes. Yeah, it did. No, seriously. I could hear
see the difference in your face.
Yeah, very much.
Very much.
Yeah.
How about you? What happened for you?
Pretty much the same. Yeah, because I do have a fear of public speaking, or I did, in front of large groups of people. And this seems very comfortable.
That's great.
Great.
So they could keep doing that, Carlos. That's just taking the first layer off, correct?
Well, this is just the first. I mean, if somebody has a really deep one, you know, I'd do several rounds with them and go gauging where they're at along the way, and I work with them until they're down to at least a 2. Okay?
Wow.
I mean, you know, for her to do what she just did and speak to you all, I don't know what her gauge level is, but she's got to be at a 4 or below, or she'd still be frozen and not be able to talk to you.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, that's the experience we've had in the past. But, you know, if we had time, usually it never takes more. I've never taken longer than 10 to 12 minutes, and I've never failed to get somebody to let go of their fear of public speaking.
Wow, phenomenal. Okay. Thank you. Give them a hand, everybody. Thank you very much.
Hi. Okay.
All this coordination. But that is something that anybody can learn and practice, and it would eliminate any belief, any subconscious belief that's holding them back. Brilliant.
And I teach a lot of other ones, you know, some of them that are shorter, but for the novice, for the brand new person, this one is hard to screw up. Okay, you cannot mess it up with just a few words. There are some that require more precise languaging that are quicker and faster, but if you don't have me there or somebody who really knows it, it's harder. So, you know, while I teach those in 4-day events, when I got, you know, somebody that's got to be quick, this is the preferred technology because it's so easy and simple. You know, you can continue on with this and you will be totally free forever of your fear of public speaking and fear of rejection, because anytime that comes up, all you got to do is tap. Okay? Simple as that.
Brilliant. Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So what I hear in all of this, we all have limiting beliefs. Obviously, they have a very high impact on what we're doing in our business every day, but we don't have to be imprisoned to them. We can change them, and that's a brilliant technique. I mean, anybody could do that. It's very simple. With practice, it could certainly shift that and help them create a whole different set of results in their business as a byproduct.
Exactly.
You have an amazing offer. If you want to continue doing this work, can you tell them a little bit, Carlos's new book, The Ultimate Success Formula. You have a whole chapter in there on this work, and Carlos has generously offered to give all of that to you. So if you have a website, I think, that they can go to. Maybe that last slide.
Yeah, I don't know where that last slide, where that clicker thing went.
Oh, just on the other side either.
Oh, okay. So, wouldn't you know it? Now, there you go.
There we go.
There you go. So, I have a special offer for people that are participating in the empowerment event, and giving a free chapter of the book away that teaches you how to discover your blocks. You know, the biggest issue that people have is, well, I know I got something, but I don't know what it is. You know, so how to do that, how to find it, how to discover those blocks is really a key thing. Now, mind you, I give away a lot of free information on my website all the time, including this stuff, okay? carlosmarin.com. Information all over the place, free of charge. That's kind of my contribution to the world.
Very generous.
But, you know, if you want to really hone in on discovering your blocks, this chapter will help you to do that. And I've also, I think, arranged a special offer for people of the empowerment event that if they want to buy the book, if they, you know, read the free chapter and feel like they want the book, you know, I'll give it to them for half price, 50% off the cover price.
Thank you for that.
So, you know, and obviously the book will take you through the entire, all the strategies, all the everything that, you know, that you can use to just totally transform your life. And, you know, like I say, run to the roar. And again, I mean, I'm very happy that you invited me to be a part of this. I love working with women. I have over 300,000 fans on Facebook, and over 75% are women. So I think after, well, I think after 20 years of being married to my wife, she finally taught me, you know, that she's the boss, you know, and that I need to, you know.
Exactly.
But it's very rewarding. It's a lot of fun, and I just got to tell you, you ladies are powerhouses. And you learn to overcome your fears, learn how to change those limiting beliefs, and you can conquer the world. It's your time. It's your time right now. And you know, you have so much potential, you have so much abilities. I tell men all the time, man, watch out. If they master the logical side, you know,
we're done.
We're all going to be house husbands, you know. We'll be staying home taking care of the kids. We're done because you guys can do way, way, way more, okay? And I truly believe that. That's not, you know, sales talk or anything like that. I honestly believe that, and it's very rewarding helping women get to that higher level and live their dreams, because, you know, too many centuries of, you know, being kept down and downtrodden and so forth and so on, and it's just, you know, it's your time.
Well,
go get 'em.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. We greatly appreciate it. Please give him a hand, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Those of you watching at home, I think there's a link on your screen that you can just click and it will take you right to the website. So please go download that free chapter. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you very much for doing that.
pleasure.
We'll make sure you all get the link afterwards as well if you want to do that. And thank you for the discount. So if you'd like, want to get Carlos's book as well, I imagine once they download the chapter, they can get some instructions on how to do that.
They'll get some
You can
instructions.
save 50% off if you do that today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
And what I'm taking away from this is that really there's nothing that can stop us if we are at least open and willing to discover what might be going on in our subconscious and how that's affecting our results.
Exactly.
You know, through techniques like that, we really can shift those things permanently. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we're going to take a very short break, like 3 minutes, just a quick change. But come back, because next we're going to talk about recruiting. This is a perfect setup for recruiting. And we've got a very detailed hands-on recruiting workshop that we're going to take you through. We're going to bring back our panel of leaders. So take a very quick break if needed and come back in 3 minutes and we will pick up where we left off. Thank you again, Carlos.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.